So welcome, I'm Lynn Farmer and I'll be your moderator today. And this program is organized with the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, organized locally by the Italian chambers around the world, and it happens in many cities, not just Miami. The campaign is devoted to the promotion of authentic, made in Italy products and the education of local consumers on genuine Italian culinary tradition. As you can see, I'm a great respecter of the Italian culinary tradition. The main objective of today's event is to present to a panel of experts, that's all of you, our number of wines and wine labels that are ready for the Florida market. Another goal is to provide an overview to the people who are following us online, that would be all of you, and to share with you how the wine market is developing here in Southeast Florida, and to get some insight into consumer trends and requests. So we'll have some requests from you, and we're also going to be asking you folks, our panel, how you feel about certain trends that are happening, or whether in fact it's being talked about but isn't happening here. We want to know your view. So this is a hybrid event. It's a live broadcast on the Zoom platform so that all the wine lovers can participate and learn about the wine trends and the market here in Florida and discover the 11 signature wines that are going to be showcased today. So we have the pleasure to be here at the Miami Culinary Institute. This is my favorite tasting venue in Florida. It's a wonderful tasting laboratory, a convivial place to gather. And here we are then with a group of selected wine experts such as importers, distributors, sommeliers, restaurateurs, chefs, and others who are active and will help take us on a fascinating journey in this culinary market. So good to have you all here. Let's start with an introduction to our panel. The panel discussion, South Florida Wine Consumption Trends. And I'm very glad to introduce you to our distinguished panelists. Right here I have Adam Cass, who's the lead sommelier at Hakkasan and Fontainebleau. You're doing many other programs at Fontainebleau as well, I know. So good to have you with us, Adam. We've got David Girardot, Director of Wine at 50 Eggs Hospitality, who's not been able to make it just yet. Filippo Visconti di Madrone is here from Casa Tua. He is the purchasing director at all the Casa Tua properties. Jen Schmidt, sommelier, consultant, and you're still consulting for Zuma, I believe, as okay, for a bit longer, and then consulting to the whole industry. So good to have Jen here. Jim Carroll, Director of Operations at Miami Culinary Institute, is here. Juan Bernardo Queman, the buyer of food, beverage, and supplies at Club Med. So Juan, you're up here. Good to see you. And we've all got to talk to you after the program about a vacation. So. Also, Juan Carlos Horta, Advanced Somm at Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood. And we've got Juan Carlos Santana, JC to all of his friends, the Director of Beverage at L'Atelier de Joël Robuchon. JC, good to see you again. You know, for many of our somms, this is like a very rare opportunity. They're always working at the same time. They never get to see each other. So it's a good opportunity for some sommelier fellowship here as well. Also, Lucas Scuderer, who is the general manager of Lure Fish Bar. Lucas is right here. And Oscar Amaya, beverage director at the Rusty Pelican. Oscar, where did you get off to? There you are, down there. And we also have Tommaso Morlato, the founder and CEO at Toscana di Vino, up here. So, a good group full of interesting insights and expertise. So good to have you all with us. Before starting, I want to inform our panelists here to use a microphone when you're talking. We can all hear fairly easily in this room, but our guests on Zoom will not be able to hear you from within the room. So Piera will bring around a microphone, or Alessia, who's here. Anytime you want to make a comment, we'll get the microphone to you so you can be heard on both Zoom and in this environment. So let's start with the panel discussion about the U.S. wine market, and with a special focus on our own South Florida wine market. And we're going to put this question to Casa Tua and Hakkasan. Let's ask about some studies that suggest that American consumers now more than ever are willing perhaps to consume high-end wines when they're away from home. This is separate from what's happening in retail, but let me know if, based on your experience, and Adam, we can start with you, how are wine consumption trends affected by this post-COVID-19 phase? It's not really post-COVID, but we're edging out. What do you see happening?
People are excited to be out, and they're spending money, and you see a lot of high-end items flying, definitely, for sure.
So it's not a matter of pent up. Now people are worried and they don't want to spend money. They do want to spend.
Yeah, friends have gone on vacation, and they want to get that bottle of 2001 Tignanello that they were all planning to drink together. And, you know, it's, a lot of pent up demand.
Great. Are you seeing the same thing, Filippo?
Yeah, I see the same thing, even though I work basically on the by the glass program. So I can see it. It's funny to see it on 24 Reds by the glass. You see how people move on Brunello and on Barolo, which reach a much higher price by the glass compared to Primitivo or other. And so, yeah, many more moves towards those kind of wines.
Well, traditionally, a by the glass program wouldn't have even pushed for a wine that was more than $20 wholesale.
Exactly.
So you're saying that there's even what we know as by the glass is changing too.
Yes. Compared to when we opened a couple of years ago, we were staying much lower on the price of the wine, basically, because, as you said, by the glass needs to be cheaper. But yeah, people move towards those wines, definitely.
Okay, good. Anything you want to add to this, Dave? You want to jump in on this?
Sure. I think what we see is a trend where people are also more aware of the high alcohol content and obviously the pricing for French wines and even domestic wines has gone, has gone up. And there is, to step onto Italian grounds, I think people are very aware of price quality and the lower alcohol content in general in Italian wines.
So at the 50 Eggs portfolio, you have, would you say, where would you put yourself in are you not budget dining, but you're in the middle tier perhaps?
I'd say depending on what concepts, but it is definitely not budget dining. It is middle tier up to upscale. We do see high ticket items moving depending on what location and what restaurant.
All three of you are involved in restaurants that have a strong tourist following too. And of course, we're a big tourist market here. So do you feel that a lot of this purchasing power is coming from outside the market, or can we really consider this local market?
For me, in Miami, it's different. At Yardbird, for example, in South Beach, is definitely driven by tourists, where Chica is much more driven by a local market.
Yeah.
And it's pure due to location.
Good. Filippo, same for you?
Casa Tua Cucina and Brico is mostly local, I would say. Casa Tua South Beach has a little bit of both always. So I would say mostly local right now. Okay.
So the tourist industry hasn't begun to totally come back on us yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Not yet. Adam, would you say the same?
I would say that we're definitely full on a lot of points during this season. And I was surprised by the capacity of the hotel. So I think people are really itching to go out again. Something I don't think has come back as strong as corporate business travel.
Okay.
I think that's going to be really important too.
Yeah, I see Dave nodding at that too. True.
Hotels.
Same for you. Okay. Great. Well, thanks for that insight. It's good to know at least that people are promoting purchasing wine in our market. So that's good to know. Let's move to another question, and here we'll shift over and we'll go to Lucas at Lure, and then to Jim from Miami Culinary, and to Rusty Pelican. Some categories of wine, like sparkling and rosé wines, are growing thanks to accessibility and versatility. We're seeing we just did a whole presentation earlier on 7 rosé wines from Italy. These categories are both growing with Italian labels. Based on your experience, which wine varieties and appellations are more requested on premise for that consumer? Are there particular Italian varieties where you're saying, yes, this is really a hot trend?
I would say the gas is not in general for lure, but for the lows. It really depends on the outlet. So at the pool, you really see the request for sparkling, nice cold Prosecco, moving to rosé, and something more on the refreshing side. At lure, even though I'm a seafood-driven restaurant, I also see a lot of requests for Barolo. Tiganello, as Alan mentioned, is very popular. Some of the guests come in with money, they look for something nice, and they go for a Super Tuscan or a Barolo. Mm-hmm. I really push sometimes. The Prosecco is a great option for oysters and other menu items that we have. So it's getting a lot of more attention. I think the access to information that everyone has it nowadays. People are trying new things. Okay. So I really see that demand on not only the most popular labels and grapes from Italy, but also something like agave. People are willing to try and make sure that, you know, they have new experience when they're dining with us. Okay. Great. If I maybe and going forward, I can ask you to stand when you answer, because so the rest of the people in the room can hear, because now we're great. We're getting great response on Zoom, and our neighbors are having trouble hearing us. So Jim, let's pass it on to you and ask about the kinds of varieties that you're seeing of interest.
So you're seeing a lot more Campagna whites, people ordering, people coming and asking for Pecorino, which just warms my heart. It's just a wonderful, fun wine. You're seeing Savignons from Alto Adige, people ordering that. It just, in the old days, they used to stick to a couple of varietals on the white side, and now that's kind of expanded, and the market has, you know, expanded. They're intelligent, and they're much more willing to go outside the box now, especially when you go to recommend something. Yeah. Is this partly the internet at work, where it's so much easier to find out about these varieties? I mean, you're talking about Pecorino, which until last Wednesday, everybody thought was a cheese. And I just think I think we, you know, Italian, there's more Italian wines in the market. The Italian wines are much better now. They're much cleaner, much crisper. They've done a much better job marketing, like you've done many events are, and it's just, they're getting the word out there better. Yeah. And people are reading better. And of course, we have the internet, and they can always look at the wine list and look up something and say, oh, that got a great score, or that's a nice review, or that's something different that would go well with the ceviche that I'm having. So you're saying basically that producers should not be afraid of having less familiar varieties, that there could still be a market that would discover them. Oh, I think I think there's so much to discover in Italy. I think Italy's the most exciting thing going on right now. You know, every region has so many different varietals and growing every year. You just made 7 new friends at the chamber, by the way. Exactly. That Italy's the hottest thing going on right now. Oscar, how about for you? With Rusty Pelican, you've got a restaurant that both has great indoor seating, but you have a lot of outdoor seating as well. Are you seeing any particular trends there? Yeah, thank you for the question, Link. Yes, we've been seeing since we opened, like when we opened after COVID, like we opened in June, we've been seeing the restaurant super busy, and we see this increase on wine. Our internal data show the 20%, 30% was sparkling, as well Pinot Grigio. Pinot Grigio is being increased on our restaurant. Pinot Grigio, sparkling, Prosecco, and also Moscato. It's been great hit to our restaurant. Moscato is on a roll. Yeah, the Moscato, Prosecco, and Pinot Grigio. It's been great demand. For Moscato, is it the traditional Moscato d'Asti, or is it sparkling Moscato? Moscato d'Asti. Moscato d'Asti is the most requested. Okay. Yeah. That's impressive to have a DOCG wine like that does so well. As well as it's good with our cuisine. As you know, everybody knows it's seafood. So Moscato, Prosecco, and Pinot Grigio is well served with seafood. So both Prosecco and Pinot Grigio have been popular in the marketplace for some time. Are you seeing any motion with wines that, like the ones Jim mentioned, the Pecorino and some others? No, in our corporate, we don't have that request yet, but I'm assuming it's going to be open to the market anytime soon. But at this moment, we don't have any requests. Okay. Is it fair to say that for a corporate outlet, you have to reach a certain threshold of desirability before the company can take a position? I mean, you can't go out and order 2 cases of something just because you hope it works. I mean, we have some restaurants, or our corporate, we have the power to order in different type of wine, but in most cases, we have the standard line out of the wine for the entire 18 restaurants. Great. You want to come any further thoughts, guys? Okay.
Then we'll move along to our third question, which I'll pose to Tommaso with the Toscana Divina and the Seminole Hard Rock, and get your input on what you see in the marketplace. In recent years, there's been a renewed interest in wine-based cocktails. And so is this representing something that we can look forward to? I mean, you have a very particular view with your properties. I mean, both of you have a great attraction for a large number of visitors. Are wine-based drinks? I mean, in this era of White Claw and heaven knows what else out there.
Well, we definitely have a more traditional approach to wine and classic, but we can see how adding alcohol, meaning wine, to a cocktail can create a differentiation on the product. For example, simple spritz, I always suggested instead of the soda to add only prosecco, and makes a different thing, you know. So I think there are incredible white wines that we can use to to smooth and to create differentiation, variety of the proposal of the cocktails, and we can see that maybe some companies, some wineries can take that and think, you know, about creating also product and wines on that direction with that purpose. I think it's something that we we can pursue and offer to the market.
Okay, so something there. Juan Carlos, how about you? What do you see?
Hello, everyone. So when it comes to wine-based cocktails, just so the consumer doesn't get confused with the term, there's a big difference between adding a little bit of wine to a cocktail and making a cocktail when the wine is the base of the drink. I think like the market right now is kind of a little afraid to like order a cocktail that has like Pinot Noir on that cocktail. How's that gonna taste? Or how do I go with a Pinot Grigio without like that rum or whatever? I think it's more up to us to kind of try to upsell. A lot of the people think, a lot of the consumers, they think that mostly your mimosas, your spritz, your bellinis, all these like cocktails are classic. And they think that is more kind of a little different. So the people is afraid. We just need to like kind of get them, open the door and invite them to try these different things. I also think that like a lot of the promotions that we started doing with these cocktails got kind of pushed away with that seltzer movement that you were talking about. So that definitely changed the direction of this new trend.
So is there does this lead us mainly to sparkling wine? I mean, is that what is going mainly into cocktails, or I don't know. I have a hard time envisioning a Pinot Noir cocktail, but.
Yeah, well, I went through some of the questions earlier and I was like, okay, wine-based cocktails. Let me kind of try to figure out like, what's the market talking about? And there's a lot of promotions. There's a lot of people trying to do different things and being very creative. Now the mixology kind of approach, it's just different. I think the consumers that want to have wine, they'll rather have wine in like, still either sparkling or whatever. They can even push it further if they go to Bellinis or spritzers. But these cocktails are also like very to a specific markets, even occasions. It's like you don't see a lot of people ordering these drinks when it's out of the your Sunday brunch or your day kind of like event or something like that.
Right. So is this going to be driven in the future by innovative wine companies coming up with these ideas, or is it chefs and bartenders driving it? I
think we need to become like more creative when it comes to the presentations of this. Especially when introducing it in retail, like people that wants to buy and try different things, they're gonna go outside and try to look for them. So like there's a lot of pre-batch cocktails already being made. There's batch cocktails that come either on cans, and they are kind of like trying to get into the fight with the seltzer market, which is kind of it's kind of the approach. So we need to become a lot more creative, but there's definitely an opportunity to promote this.
Right. Tommaso, you're in a very chef-driven restaurant with a very innovative chef.
One simple thing, consider that using wine is a natural product instead of prepared mixers with, with artificial ingredients inside. So this could be also something to promote. Imagine, okay, the the complexity that that a Riesling or a Chablis can give to a cocktail. Maybe we don't have it to sell it really to as a wine-based cocktail, but use it as an ingredient. No, you professionals are able to take out the for a natural product to take out the maximum of it. So I think it's something to explore and to take in consideration.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much for your input. Now we go to a question that I'm going to address to the wine jury here. So Jen and JC and Juan, do you see any significant difference between demographic group demands? So you're younger, you're millennials coming in versus, well, my generation, yeah, well, maybe my generation is, drinking all sorts of things, but do you see a demographic split?
I do. I think that when you have an older demographic, they tend to still kind of draw to your classics. I think that kind of goes back to price points also. Generally, an older clientele might have a little bit more expendable income that they're looking for those more iconic producers, whereas our younger demographics are looking a little more for value. They're looking a little outside the box. And then there's the whole natural wine trend that's opening up Pandora's box right there. But it's definitely it's a big topic. And I think Italy does a great job kind of exploring the natural wine and is starting to market a little bit more with that. So you'll have Sicily or the Northeast, like in Friuli, that are really, that's part of their background as far as kind of dipping in their toe into the orange wine or natural wine. And I think that the younger clientele is open to that. They're open to sustainability. They want to see those types of things. So again, when you can mix value price points with more innovative marketing, I think that those are two really important things for the younger demographic.
I find, JC, for me, it's like if I come into a restaurant, having been a wine drinker for a long time, I'm much more inclined to ask you guys what's interesting, because I'm not always so sure what's hot and what's new. Whereas for younger audience members, are they finding things on Instagram that they're coming in and asking you for?
Yes. To Jen's point, I think and your point as well, with the younger generation, it's a lot of what they can see readily in the internet, be that Instagram or TikTok or.
See, I don't even know all of these outlets to name.
So that plays, I think, a major role in where they're getting their information from. I think they are much more curious about wine, but with things like sustainability and natural, and that's another can of worms we can get into at a later topic of conversation.
We've gone from canned wine to canned worms. This is nerving.
But yeah, I think with the younger generation, natural wine is certainly very trendy at the moment. There's enough young people getting behind it and making it sort of glamorous, so to speak, without it being out of reach. And then with the older generation, these are people who've been drinking wine. They know what wine they like. They are willing to explore and try something they may not have heard of before, but they like their styles. They want grapes to taste like this place that they say they're from, to taste like the grape that they say they are. They're not necessarily looking for that cloudy, semi-bubbly bottle, which can be delicious and tasty and
can be not.
So it's an interesting time. I think getting those worlds to see each other's points of view, I think, would help wine in general, because the younger generation will one day get over all these natural trends that are happening right now. And the older generation, I think at some point will be like, well, I just want an easy case of drinking wine at the house, and it doesn't all need to be $60, $80, $100 plus a bottle. So
right. Juan Bernardo, what do you think? Is there a demographic split?
Well, the new generation are like Juan Carlos and Jen mentioned, are social media driven. So new generations are willing to drink what their people they see on the social media drink, their artists, whoever. And also the new generation, what they like to do is they want to find food with history. They want to know where these wines are coming from, who makes them. if the company is social sustainable and environmental, many things like that. So it's a different kind of trend, but also on the flip side, it's difficult to make them stick into one brand because they want to try everything. They just don't stick to a label like the old generation used to do.
Less loyalty then.
Correct.
So at Club Med, where the impression overall is all inclusive, so that you're not consulting a wine listing quite the same way, or are you as a consumer?
No, actually, there's 2 points. As an all-inclusive resort, we have an all-inclusive wine, but we always try to upsell. No, and what we try to upsell is always what is on trend or what the people are usual to drink, like Italian wines or Spanish wines or whatever. So we always try to make, you know, even if you buy your vacation today, we always try to get a little bit of money out of the regular vacation or the regular flair.
Okay. When I worked in the cruise industry on inclusive ships like Regent and Silversea, my experience was people were willing to try almost any variety if it was free. And if you were charging for it, they would go very much only for what they already knew. And it became a really tough sell. Is that your experience?
Well, what I always say to my sommelier and my guys is you sell what you promote. That's all. I mean, if I had a chef promoting an Italian wine and he was around the tables talking to the people, oh, drink this Malbec, that is the one that is going to sell. And then the next day he's promoting an Italian wine. That is the one that is going to sell. You sell what you promote, what you offer to the people. That's mostly.
Okay. I don't know if you remember, JC, I had my very first Kerner from Alto Adige. Thanks to you, I had never heard of this grape. And yet you came and promoted it and said, here, try it. If you like it, we'll get you a glass, but here's the taste. I found that a really great way to introduce even somebody in my generation to something totally new.
Yeah, I think getting wine in front of people is the most important part. You have to be willing to, maybe you missed the mark, but if you know that this person really loves XYZ characteristics, why not show them something they've never had? I mean, they can come and have the same bottle you've always gotten for them, and there's comfort in that. But by expanding people's horizons and sharing the vast world of wine with our guests, I think that's obviously a win-win for everyone. And typically, not always, but typically, the wines that people don't know about tend to be a better value. And opening that world up to people, I think you make more friends that way than you do by just bringing them what they've always wanted.
Thank you. I've got a question. Did you want to add something, Jen?
Yeah, just kind of a one of those moments as far as like when you're building lists. It's also when it comes to getting people to go outside the box. It's kind of it's giving them those options and not really limiting what they know already, but making it so it's more of a an experience to be able to go outside the box. So like for me, like I never had a full bottle of Pinot Grigio. I only had Pinot Bianco. I had a Kerner. I had all these other varietals that gave me talking points for guests to be able to give them that, okay, you don't have that. So what can I have that's going to be similar? So it kind of encourages.
It became a sales tool.
It was. That was how I did it. I mean, I had a half bottle of Pinot Grigio and always made that available. So if they really wanted it, I've had tables where they had.
So you weren't exactly saying no.
Of Pinot Grigio because they just had to have it, and that's fine. But I have a really beautiful Pinot Bianco by the full bottle, which was half the price.
Great, great. I have a question from Alessandra in Tuscany, who's with us on Zoom. And so I'll throw this out, and whoever wants to pick it up, you all have some experience here. Alessandra wants to know, do you look at the beauty of a wine label when you choose a wine for your wine list? I mean, we talk about you can't judge a book by its cover. Sometimes I think you can judge a wine by its label. Does this resonate for anybody? Filippo, you're a purchaser. Let's, Jen, can you hand down the mic?
Not really. I mean, first of all, we taste it, of course. Second of all, we see how convenient it is, where we can get with the price. And then, sure, if it's really touching the label, I mean, we consider it, maybe.
Yes.
People definitely look at it. Clients, they definitely look for it. I mean, I have comments. I have the fridge there with the bottles, and people comment on them if they like it or they don't like it. It looks like this, it looks like that.
Right.
So I get for them, it's really catching.
Sure. Well, maybe if you don't need to look at the label to choose a wine because it tastes good, but in your display, the better looking labels may get some other sales. Is that fair to say?
Yes, probably.
Okay.
Yes, I would say so.
Anybody else want to chime in on that? It's a quiet crowd today. Okay.
I think as far as how beautiful a label is or isn't, it all depends on how visible your wine program is. If you're a restaurant or a store where the bottles are visible to the guests and they can see, then that has something to do with it. To Filippo's point, I think the quality of the wine is still paramount. But if it happens to pass your quality standards for what the wine should and taste like, having a beautiful label also helps. Now, if you're in a restaurant like mine where the cellar is hidden in the back behind the kitchen and no guest is ever going to see it, the beauty of the label is nice when it finally hits the table, but it's not helping us sell more or less.
So you're not having a lot of people saying, I'll have what she's having because they like the label on the table?
Not as much.
Not as much.
Not as much.
Okay. Juan Bernardo, did you want to jump in?
No, just to mention, like, I mean, we don't consider the label, but it's also important because as we were talking about new generations, now we saw wines. There is a wine that has a QR code on it. So you have to use your cell phone to see what it actually is. And as another big example is 19 Crimes, when you click at the label and you see all the history about the label. So probably we don't consider it, but it's a good marketing point.
Okay. Let me just ask the panel here, and anybody chime in, we'll bring the mic over. Is organic or biodynamic, I mean, for us journalists, it's always something good to talk about. So we like having it to be able to talk about it, but is it a selling point for you? Is it important to have these wines on your list as well, in addition to the can of worms wines? Go for it.
Everyone's going to get tired of hearing me. For the programs that I run for the Bastion Collection, everything is at the very least sustainable, and in many cases, organic and biodynamic. Those are wines that I think are, and wineries that are doing their part to help keep the earth in a better place, or get it to a better place. And oftentimes those wines end up being better tasting than more traditional or commercially made wines, whatever the term might be. But I think if we place a point of emphasis on it, you can certainly find something for your guests at any category where responsible farming is a point of focus. And if we can champion those people trying to do the right things and move some money into their pockets as opposed to just feeding it all to the big box companies, I think that's the little bit we can do to help push the needle and get average consumers more aware about these positive things that they're doing.
Right. So it can become part of the brand. I mean, like at Toscana di Vino, you've got, your mantra is freshness. If you can promote these kinds of wines, I suppose that underscores some other things that you're doing in the property anyway.
You know, it's a part of our wine program, you know, and generally on the sustainability approach that I think we have a responsibility to carry on. No? So yes, definitely, you know, I don't know if it's so relevant in the decision process of the guest. Yes, it's more like, you know, I think we are at the beginning, and we're at the beginning of the education and progress, you know, on these things, but definitely something to pursue.
Great. Is sustainable important or not that big a deal to anybody else? Jim, let's get a mic. Can we get a, thank you.
You have guests asking about sustainable. You have guests asking about organic. Few here asking about biodynamic, which is, it's simple to explain, but it's really not simple on what it is. But you know, people going out buying organic food, so they, you know, they're asking about organic wines, and that market's growing. And there's a lot of producers that make organic wines that don't put it on their labels. That's just what they do, or they're sustainable.
Right.
But now the market's growing, and whether it's France, United States, or other places in the world, there's, you know, in Italy too, there's a lot of people that are doing it now.
I've found that also that in doing, for writing articles, in interviewing winemakers, many of them will say, well, we're doing everything organic, but why should I spend 10 or 15,000 euros for an official certification when it's not going to change what I'm actually doing? And if it's a small producer, and if we're here to celebrate small producers, that's kind of working against them, that we don't make it easier for them to trumpet this. When we had our tasting earlier of Cerasuolo wines, several of those were organic, and these were small producers who said that in their part of Abruzzo, the quality of the wine had changed significantly over just the last 10 years. It was a whole new generation coming in. And I think this is true in many parts of Italy, that we're finding a new generation, new emphasis. And so maybe this will come more to the front.
There's a small producer in Napa that's been organic for years, and his wines are high quality. But he's never put organic on the label, especially in the old days, because there was a lot of organic producers that were making inferior wines, and he didn't want to be lumped into that area. This is going back to the mid 90s, early 2000s.
Okay, great. Hey, do we have any other questions we should be addressing? We're good. Well, let me thank you all for your input as our valuable insight panel. We have more things to come up. I want to continue with the second part of our event, which is the presentation of 11 signature wine labels for which we'd like to get your input. You've got in your at your seats some books with questionnaires where you can fill them out, and then we can talk about them if you'd like. So we have 11 signature wines that are ready for distribution in Florida from winemakers and importers. So we're going to group them into two different groups. We'll do 5 wines, and then we'll do another 5 wines and 1 wine-based cocktail, since we're there. It's like a spritzer. So we'll go through these. Today's wines are presented by Rufino, Orvino, Valdo, 7 Imports and Exports, EDM, Zero Beverages, and Go Wine. And we have representatives from each of these companies here to talk about their wine. And then what we've set up here is that each presenter can have up to, doesn't have to use all of it, but 5 minutes to present the wine, take a question if you've got it. You can make your tasting. The panelists will then give a score using your tasting book to give your impression about each single wine and talk about your experience and personal taste. So panelists, feel free to ask questions if you want. Once again, during the presentation, we'll bring a microphone around if you've got a question so that everybody tuning in can hear it. So we encourage everyone to jump in with that. Now, as we're pouring out the wines, let me just say again that we're grateful to have you all here. And for our audience remotely on Zoom, we have a really great cross-section here of folks from many phases of the wine consumption businesses. In hospitality, we've got resorts and casinos, we've got small restaurants, larger restaurants, restaurant chains, and consulting somms as well. So overall, we're going to get a really great impression of what this market thinks about the wines that are being poured. So we've got the first couple are in your glass, and as soon as we get the rest in your glass, we'll start with the presentations. Could I, if you have a moment, get a little bit of water up here for me, if you have just a little extra? Thank you. If not, I do take wine as well. So just to continue while we're pouring out the wine, if I could just ask a couple more questions while we're working through. Is that number 1?
No, it's number 3.
Number 3. Okay, we're doing this the Italian way. 1? There we go. Thank you. I'll be interested to hear your impressions about the sparkling wines that we have today. The comments that you all made earlier on indicated the word that kept coming up was Prosecco. What I'm really curious about is, would you be open to non-Prosecco sparkling wine from Italy? I mean, we know lots of regions make other sparkling wines. So would a sparkling wine from Italy but not bearing the Prosecco name. And I'm thinking partly of Franciacorta, which I think is a really unheralded wine in the US, but also a sparkling wine from another area. If we came up with one from Sicily, or we came up with one from Puglia, I've had some great rosé from Puglia. Would this be of interest? Anybody want to raise a hand and we'll get a microphone to you? Okay, let's get, where'd our mic go? Okay, great. Juan Carlos.
I think the Prosecco had a meaningful opportunity over the last few months.
Thank you. Let's use this. Thanks.
We've been opening a lot of opportunities for guests that want a bubble to explore different things. And for us, we think that
thank you, Pierre.
Having the product to present to the guests. So the guests are open to try different things as long as they are like, sparkling or methods that they want, or they have like some kind of like secondary fermentation. But yeah, like the opportunity that they got right now, that's
Okay. I didn't get a copy of the book. Okay, that sounds encouraging though. I mean, it's we know that sparkling wine can be produced at a fair price and at many different levels. So what's a level that would get you willing to actually try one? I mean, we've got several here. What would catch your interest? Is there a price point in mind, or is it strictly quality of the wine?
I think it's more style. I personally like more of the kind of style, more of the white varietals.
Okay.
So I know there's a lot of rosés coming out, or some like red wine based, like sparklings, but it's definitely the style. I think the quality is there from different areas in Italy, and the guests are like appreciating the opportunity to try different things that have the quality and also closer to the price point that they're looking to spend as well.
Right. So at your property, you have several different dining outlets.
Yes.
You have opportunities at several different levels. Is it a concern for you when you're looking at purchasing a wine for your list that it be able to serve multiple outlets, or are you willing to bring something then that would only go with one?
Well, I kind of address each different outlet as their own entity. I like to have them, each outlet to have their own identity. So when it comes to the wine list, there's many items that we shared across the property and we pour here and there, but they have more like of a different approach. So there's our Italian concept has like more of a 65% wine, Italian wines on the list, because we still want to have the opportunity to provide our guests with what they're looking for, what they know, but it also gives us the edge on price. So versus going to the steakhouse, our guests are looking more for those big, bold Cabernets from Napa, but it also gives us the opportunity of selling a lot of those super Tuscans as well. So our guests are looking for change, are looking to try and explore different things. It's a matter of like having variety and having like, the opportunity to present it to them.
Great. Thank you, Juan Carlos. So just a reminder, you've got your booklet. There's a quick guideline to how they'd like to see your tasting notes at the very front of the book. And then we've got a page for each of the wines. I'd like to welcome up our first presenter, Guido Po, who's the CEO of 7 Import and Export.
Okay.
We look forward to your presentation.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. Hi, my name is Guido Po, and I represent Peninsula Wine and 7 Imports. It's 2 companies in one, really, because our Peninsula Wine is a winery which has been active since 1991, but we've been in the United States in 2020. We have our own import company, our own distribution company, and we're based here in Miami, in Doral. This vertical integration between production, importing, and distribution allows us to maintain costs low and a little better efficiency for us. I'm here today to present with Mike Valdez-Fowley 2 wines of ours. The first one is our bestseller, which is the Peninsula Cuvee Brut, for which I have a glass right here. This is our bestseller. We import about between Florida and Texas, where we have another branch. We import and sell about 500,000 bottles per year. And it's just scratching the surface because it's growing very fast. Our production capacity is much higher than that. So we can
if you grow,
if we grow,
you can meet the need.
Yeah. So we're just scratching the surface for now. We're very happy with this product. The bottle, this wine right here, is essentially. Yeah.
Oh, you got it there? Great.
We have a bottle. Maybe I can just, no, just the bottle. So this bottle right here is essentially the perfect choice for those premises which are in need of a high quality sparkling wine, clearly fermented sparkling wine, but they don't want necessarily to pay the price for a Prosecco. This is not a Prosecco, it's a spumante because it's not 100% glera. There is some Garganega as well inside. This is not to be found on the shelves of any supermarket. So this is for on premises only.
Ah, okay.
So it's the taste is very well balanced. It's not too sweet. It's not too dry. Most of the time, these spumante wines, the sparkling wines are too sweet and they leave a pretty nasty aftertaste. This one, we believe, doesn't.
So is this at the Brut level instead of extra dry?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. This is a Brut level. It has a fruity note to it. And these features essentially allows for this wine to be used for mixing, for things like mimosa and such, but also to be consumed by the glass.
Okay.
A lot of restaurants also sell it by the bottle.
Great. Our folks over here would like you just to speak up a little bit more.
Sure.
You don't have to hold the mic closer.
Okay.
You're good on the mic. It's in fact, you can hold it,
I guess.
I know you can hold it farther away.
All right, let's go. A lot of restaurants sell it by the bottle, and we believe this is something to do with the presentation. We worked on it quite a lot to give it this presentation, and the reason for that is that because it's a high volume item and it's being shown by bartenders a lot, we believe it has to look good as well. So we encourage you to taste it, to try it.
I will.
And we'll look forward to hear your comments in the scorecard.
Great.
This wine is incredibly well priced. So I guess that's one of the other reasons for the success. So we believe it's a great value choice. And we love the bubble on the tongue as well. So this essentially concludes my presentation.
Thanks, Guido. Let's see if we have any questions. I noticed one thing, it's 11.5% alcohol, which is much more in line with what a lot of the market already knows from Prosecco. Is that an asset or not? Anybody have questions or comments to add here? We'll bring a microphone to you if you want to add anything. Okay. I guess they just are still sipping, so they're happy. That's good. Thank you so much for offering this wine for us.
Thank you.
And you have another one that you'll come back for?
There's Mike actually doing the next one.
Great. Okay, good. You can give him the microphone. So now Mike is going to present. Hello, Mike. Good to see you. Sir. It's good to have you with us today. You're going to talk about Brut Zero.
That's right. How's everybody doing? I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story in 5 minutes or less, so bear with me. But my 20-year career has been more in advertising and marketing. I've got my own agency, and we've worked with Bacardi, Diageo, Gallo, Heineken. But my brother-in-law and co-founder in this product here is a sommelier certified by the Court of Masters and the beverage director of Big Time Restaurant Group. Some of you might know that group in Fort Lauderdale and the Palm Beaches. They own about 16 restaurants. And he was pleased with life until the pandemic hit, when many of us in this industry were furloughed in March of last year. And Irvin felt like a crisis was a terrible thing to waste. He's always wanted to launch his own brand of some kind and felt like this was as good a time as any. So he partnered up with his friends and associates at Peninsula Wine, including Guido, to begin tinkering on a brand new concept. And that concept is, can we reconcile two global trends? Prosecco, as everybody has just acknowledged, is exploding, overtaking even champagne by some measures. And at the same time, the trend of low carb, low sugar, low calorie. Can we go all the way and create a product with negligibly zero sugar and still have the consortio call it a Prosecco and still have it taste good? The skepticism was it's not possible. If you can get it done, it's going to taste terrible. And if you can get those two done, it's going to be very expensive. Well, we're very proud to say that they pulled it off. This product that you see here has 2.8 grams of sugar per liter. The average Prosecco is anywhere from 12 to 20. And we think it tastes pretty damn good as well. We have two SKUs, the Brut here made with Glera, as well as a rosé made with some Glera, as well as Pinot Nera. It's made in the Northeast region of Italy. It's DOC. And we're very excited with the progress thus far as we've rolled it out only 9 months ago with the help of Breakthrough Beverage that picked us up for a deal. We are now in a short amount of time in about 75 on-premise accounts, depleting about 100 cases per week, just South Florida, launched the DTC website so it can get to your house in 4 days or less. And Wine World Tribune, among other agencies, have rated the product quite well. So they gave us a 96 rating, which was their highest ever for a Prosecco, which made us excited because we can now say the world's lowest sugar Prosecco is also its highest rated, at least according to these guys. The business of it is probably less interesting than the wine and our partners at the on-premise level. Even if you could guarantee me retail distribution, we don't want that. We want to build a lifestyle brand with the help of incredible restaurants and venues like yours. And where that is possible, we commit to being partners. We are there for incentives, for events, for bringing influencers, for geofence, SEO, targeting your restaurant and bringing traffic in the door. We are honored for those that choose to pick us up, and we're not going anywhere. We choose to help deplete cases and grow our business together. So really in closing, we're a Miami brand. We're taking advantage of this Miami movement and the pride of having been Italian born, but Miami raised. And we hope with Prosecco Zero, we can all make zero plans together. Thank you. Questions?
Okay, so we've been hearing, I mean, I saw Urban had done a bunch of ads and things, you know, and was very visible when it first came out.
That's right.
Many of us know him from his restaurants here in Miami or up in Fort Lauderdale, and great to have you presenting this. I'm very curious when I see bottles like this one and the earlier one that we had. These don't fit on my wine rack at home. Is that a concern at all in the commercial world about storage, or is that a consumer issue that just doesn't enter into the equation? Yeah, maybe yes, maybe no, John.
When the bottle shape is important, because if you're working with racks and it's like it doesn't go in, it does make it a little more challenging to find a location for it.
Mm-hmm.
For retail, it definitely isn't really the issue. I think that people like to see more dramatic bottle shapes, and it makes it a little more distinctive. Also, the clear glass, you really get to see the color. That's really great. But for restaurant purchasing, it can be a challenge unless you're using refrigerators that are able to be more freestanding and you're about.
If I were in a restaurant and the table next to me had this, though, I'd ask, what's that? Because it's an unusual, it's a unique shape.
You're hitting on the cost benefit analysis, right?
Yeah.
And everything Jen said is true, but you know, we're trying to break out in a cluttered landscape with a lot of incredible players that we respect, but we're not going to try to move volume and be a quantity play. We want to be a quality play and be in less venues, but sell more, and pick partners that can kind of maybe deal with the odd bottle shape by what we hope is a differentiating product.
Right. Let me just ask Tommaso, or one of the others who works with your chefs, in the champagne business, that other sparkling wine, the whole Brut Sauvage movement was really driven by chefs wanting a culinary champagne. Is that equivalent for what we may see here with a 0 or 2 gram per liter Prosecco? Is that something that chefs might respond to? No? Okay. Different market?
Yeah, I think it's a completely different market.
Okay.
I will say that, you know, we're not trying to be a culinary brand necessarily, but we are very much playing in the mixology space. It is crisp and dry and light, which by definition, when I was hearing about some of the wine cocktail conversation, it's going to lend itself a lot better to blending with some other things, whether that be Aperol or a Bellini. You know, there's a number of different trends that are very popular, and we think this fits directly within that.
Very cool. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Good to have you here today.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Let's move on to our next page then, which is labeled Valdo Cuvee 1926. And we've got this wine, which is Valdobbiadene Prosecco Superiore. So it's a DOCG. Matteo Bola is here. It's good to see you again, Matteo.
Hello.
How are you? Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a Prosecco party today.
It is indeed. Here, I'll get the competition out of your way. I'll keep it over
hello,
here.
everybody. My name is Matteo Bolla, and I'm US and Canada area manager for Valdo, a Prosecco winery owned by my family. It was founded in 1926 in Valdo Biadene and purchased by my grandfather Sergio in 1938. So we are one of the few wineries of Valdo Biadene that have around century-old history. And we are a global brand. We are a leading brand in Europe, especially in Italy and Germany. And we care about sustainability. We were talking about it before in viticulture, but also as a matter of fact, we just installed a state-of-the-art solar panel in our vinification center. And today we're going to talk about two products. The first one here is our Valdo Biadene Prosecco Superiore DOCG, Cuvee 1926. It's a tribute to the founding year of the winery. The blend is 90% Glera, 10% Chardonnay. All the grapes are harvested by hand in the spectacular steep slopes of the Valdo Biadene Hills. Wine region proclaimed UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2019. It follows a 5-month Charmat Martinotti method with extra fine bubbles. On the nose, we have aromas of pear, of white flowers, and on the palate, tropical fruit. This is a DOCG wine that has more personality, more structure than DOC Prosecco. We can pair it across the whole meal, in particular with white meat, risotto, but also at the end of the meal with fresh peaches. It has 16 gram residual sugar per liter, so it's extra dry, the most popular version of Prosecco, but it's very well balanced with the acidity. I hope you enjoy it. We also have this very elegant label, and this is a.
So, how do you split your availability on premise and off premise? Because we've had the discussion going both ways here.
Sure. So here in the US, we are predominantly on premise, say around 75%. This wine is mostly a by the bottle in restaurants, but for high-end, premium luxury restaurants, we also have by the glass. Our approach really is to have to offer labels for different moment of consumptions. So different price tiers. We'll see that if you have the time to the walk around tasting, I have other labels for different applications. So that's our philosophy, to be able to serve different clients, have mostly an on-premise approach, but also have labels that can be appealing to the retail, to a larger audience.
I'm intrigued with the two wines that you brought. You have one now that's nearly a century old, and you have a category next that's barely 2 years old with a rosé prosecco. So do you want to present that now, or should
Absolutely,
are there
yes.
any
I think
questions
it's
about the 1926?
So next in line is our Prosecco DOC Rosé. As you mentioned, it was approved only last year. We have a 2019 vintage. The blend is 90% Glera and 10% Pinot Noir. The Pinot Noir grapes are harvested in our estate-owned vineyards in Magredi, in province of Treviso and of Pordenone, with alluvial, chalky, and mineral-rich soils, which gives an elegance and lightness and roundness to the wine. This is a very special label for us. It's called Marcaoro, literally means our gold mark. It has been introduced by my grandfather Sergio in the 1950s for the white Prosecco. So it's a yellow label. We'll see that later. And so we thought for the Prosecco Rosé to keep the same label, but in pink. And it is a Brut, 12 gram residual sugar per liter. aromas of small red fruits, wild strawberries. This wine pair perfectly with Mediterranean cuisine, with tuna tartare, sea bass, and salads. So we're very excited about this new category. We already see good traction. We are a national brand here in the US. We are present in all states, and we are here to stay. So my family sent me here.
And you are here too.
Yes, I'm based in Miami, and we wanna grow the US market and North America. Also, Canada is very important for us. Enlarging our organization here, and hopefully replicate the same success that Valdo was capable of reaching back home in Italy and in Europe.
If I might ask you, there were, I know some of the very traditional Prosecco firms were very reluctant to embrace the Rosé Prosecco quickly. They wanted to see how the market was going to go. We jumped
right through it. We are Prosecco specialists. For us, it's very important to have a label for the different layer of the appellation. You know, in DOCG, we have also Rive, Cartizze. We are actually one of the only or very few wineries that make a Metodo Classico Prosecco Superiore, which is coming to the US next year. He has a 10-month secondary fermentation in the bottle. And with Prosecco Rosé, we immediately thought it would have been a great global success. So we jumped through it immediately. But we also, you know, Prosecco for us is our tradition. But our winemaker, Gianfranco Zanoni, is always looking for innovation and striving for the perfect balance. So we have a line of sparkling wines with different Italian grape varietals. For example, at the tasting later, I have a floral sparkling rosé made with 75% Merello Mascalese from Sicily and 25% Glera. So we really try to push the boundaries when it comes to innovation, but always be respectful of our tradition, which is Prosecco. And in particular, Prosecco Superiore DOCG, because we are Valdo, so Valdo Biadene.
Very good. Would anybody like to just add a comment about the way the market has received or paid no attention to Rosé Prosecco? I mean, Rosé is still pretty hot in the marketplace, but is Rosé Prosecco catching on yet? Lucas, any thoughts? Can we get a, thank you. Piera has your microphone here.
Yeah, I mean, I actually carry the product Lure and the floral as well, and it's been very successful. So people really like what they're making around from the 1926 and the floral. I think that from what I taste right now could be a great addition to my my wine list. And actually for the whole hotel, when you see pool is one of the busiest outlets that we have at the Lowe's, and is really demanding for something refreshing, something that you can keep drinking. So I see a big opportunity for the market to keep adding more and more Prosecco Rosé. I don't see why not. We shouldn't be a hit. I think, again, access to information, getting the product we do. One of the things that we do for new products, being a big corporation, is doing activations for guests. So whenever we have a holiday or a big event, we get together with brands and you do special tasting. We have somebody from the brand presenting the menu. And then from that feedback, it is discussed with the corporation to add something new or something that we really think that will be, you know, successful in the with the sale, like sales and everything else.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
So from here now, we move on to our next bottle, which is Casa Faribe Cuvee Brut. And to present this for us, we have John Flora, who's the CEO of Orvino Wine Imports. And I think, is Angela here as well? Or? Okay. Hi there. So we're going to let John make the presentation.
Absolutely.
Tell us all about it. And I'll give you that.
Good afternoon, everybody. Well, as you said, I'm John Flora from Orvino Imports. We've been in importing Italian wines and foods in South Florida since 1976. I've been a tremendous promoter of Italian wines. I was born in Italy, so it's in my culture, it's in my DNA to promote our products from our native country. What I'm presenting here today is a Cuvee Brut. Basically, I think we live in a state where our lifestyles is, we enjoy the weather, we'll have 365 days of sun. We have more outdoor activities here than any place else. I think the people are really enjoying the sparkling wines today, and the Cuvee Brut is basically what you're drinking is a Prosecco bottled outside of the region that gives you the designation for the DOC or DOCG. This product is made by Cantina Vedova, which is a producer, family producer in Valdobbiadene. They've been in business since 1950 as Marco. They're also in the Valdobbiadene region, a small region. Those Valdobbiadene Proseccos are DOCGs. And of course, they also make the DOC. So you're buying a Cuvee Brut, a sparkling wine. I think that the Americans are just beginning to really drink sparkling wines more and more, because especially at least in the state of Florida, it's so refreshing, cool. I mean, just our lifestyle lends them to be appreciated more. But I think that most people are using the sparkling wines more as a cocktail. I think Juan might have mentioned that before. They're using it in mimosas. They're using it in spritz. But I think, I don't believe that it's being appreciated, drank by themselves on their own. As I said, as I see where we service the market, we see the consumption is tremendous as far as consumption. But we see it also more so in the cocktail section of the way it's being served. I think probably most of your guests will probably agree to that it's that the majority of its use. But I think in Europe, the difference between in Europe is the Europeans or the Italians or Germans or mostly, they drink sparkling wines based on the fact that they really enjoy the product in its own form versus being blended with other products as we do here. So as I said, you're really buying a Prosecco product made with 90% Glera, 10% Chardonnay, same style as a Prosecco would be made, except that you're paying probably half the price of a Prosecco.
Okay.
So really, it's really more than just a price. I think that sometimes the price may be devaluating the product. And I hate to say that, but it is what it is. And I think the Italians wanted to get into this business to capitalize on the cocktail beverage that has exploded in this country with mimosas. And again, I think we're going to taste the spritz in a few seconds. We're going to spend, which has not yet caught on as it is caught on in Europe. And of course, very popular in Italy. So I think you're going to find this product to be fresh, cool. The nose is exactly as a Prosecco nose. You're going to have apples, green apples, fruits, and flowers. And I think that, again, the bars on this is about 5.5. So you're really buying a fabulous product for the price.
Great.
And believe me, when I tell you, we sell a lot of this product to a lot of restaurants. The majority, believe it or not, is we sell more on-premise than we do off-premise as far as sparkling wine. That's an interesting statistic versus champagne.
Right, right. Oscar, let me ask you, is it the fact that this has, I mean, Glera is still a name that's not known to most American consumers. So it's hard to market a Prosecco as having, as Glera being a market point. Does it make a difference that there's Chardonnay in this as well, which is a name that many people do know? Or does the sparkling wine consumer, in your experience, it's sparkling wine, give me a taste, I like it, I'll drink it?
Well, in general,
Can we...
the consumer here in South Florida
I'm sorry, John, can we just hand him your microphone for a sec? I promise to give it back.
I can carry my own voice.
But our Zoom listeners need the mic.
Yeah, like I saying, in South Florida, the consumer, they ask for sparkling. A few of them, they ask for a specific category, like champagne, like a Prosecco, like a Moscato, like I mentioned earlier. But if we put Glera, not many people knows that great. But if we put Prosecco, everybody knows Prosecco.
Okay.
So it's easy to sell. As a restaurant, it's easy to sell like a rosé, like you mentioned earlier. Rosé is sold by itself. We don't have to promote rosé, at least in our restaurant. Sunday brunch, we sell a ton of rosé. I mean, rosé, it's easy to sell. Prosecco as well. So, but the great Glera would be more hard to sell, at least in our end.
Yeah, but I think if people are buying the wine, if you can say, you can market it by saying it's like a Prosecco, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Would you consider, John, is there any interest on your end as an importer to getting a rosé sparkling wine?
We do have one.
Ah, okay.
We do make it exactly, except that it's made in this, as Marco mentioned, it's made with Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
But it's exactly on the same format, made the same style. Nothing changes. The only difference is, again, they leave the skins just for the color of the Pinot Noir, just to get the rosé. And to answer the question about the popularity of rosé, as Mark already highlighted, the fact that rosé is only Prosecco has only been in the market for really in the last year. It's just began to get recognized, but the rosé sales in general, not just in sparkling, but the rosé sales have increased drastically. And I think the rosé business was always in the hands of the French, pretty much, as everybody knows. But in the last 5 years, the Italians have made a big push on rosés. And some of the people may not know, but actually the Puglia region is the largest region that actually promotes the most of rosés, due to the fact of the varieties of grapes that they have, like the Nero di Troia, Negro Amaro, Primitivo. They have a tremendous amount of rosés come out of those same grape varieties. And their rosés, the Italian rosés, have really picked up legs.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing this wine with us, Chris. Angelo, thank you as brand ambassador for lending your support.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, so this wraps up the first flight. We've got a second flight coming, which will include the spritzer as well. So we just need a couple of seconds. If you would be so kind as to empty out your glasses, if you want to rinse them, or I can also see about, do we have paper napkins at your places? Do we have a way to wipe out your glasses? You okay? All right. So we can just go ahead and start pouring the next batch. While we do that, any comments from our panel about, since our first focus was on sparkling wine, about growth you may foresee in sparkling in our market? Oscar.
Great presentation, everybody. I will say the balance of the sugar is a big sell here in Florida. Our guests, they go for dry, extra dry, and the balance of all this Prosecco presented today is amazing between the zero and the other ones. The level of sugar is a great.
Grams up to around, I think, 16 in your 1926. Yeah, so there's a big spread there. When I was in Valdobbiadene, and I was struck by how many of the locals were saying, well, we're willing to sell you our Brut, but we're going to keep drinking the extra dry because that's the tradition. And so that's been very popular. But within a restaurant, I think the drier it is, the
drier is
there's
the
an
more
appeal.
dry driven.
Yeah.
More the guests ask for dry in anything, in any wine.
Okay. Any other thoughts to add while we bring out the next batch of wine? Jen?
Kind of a comment to follow that, as far as I feel like the general public has a really misguided understanding about sugar in wine and beverage in general, whether it's cocktail, whether it's wine, whether it's sake, whatever it is. They don't really have a really great understanding of what sugar plays a relationship in the beverage. And so I think it's really interesting to hear that point of view, because I don't necessarily agree with that.
Okay.
I think it has to do with the demographic. We go back to that question as far as the domestic market, the US market. I think they actually like a little bit more sugar in their wine, but they don't necessarily know that. It's why that they're drinking their Coca-Cola and their everything else that has a high amount of sugar. But the market tells them that they're not supposed to like sugar.
Yeah.
So
well, Mike, the marketer, could confirm maybe, but it used to be said that Americans talk dry and drink sweet.
Exactly. And so that's why it's like we as Somms like dry wines. We also like our sweet wines. We like balance.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as I like hearing that your guests are coming in and saying, I want a dry Prosecco, but I don't necessarily ever get that question. It's usually just Prosecco is done an amazing job as far as promoting that they are the Italian sparkling wine. And that's why like Franciacorta, it's really difficult sometimes to sell Franciacorta just because A, it's scary to say, and two, it's not Prosecco. So they don't really understand that relationship.
Well, and it's hard to get into that whole discussion with people about, well, with this acid level, actually 5 more grams of residual sugar is a very good thing. And trust me, you won't taste it.
Exactly. So that's why it's like, when you taste the Prosecco that has 16 grams per liter, it still has a freshness. There's still a balance as long as that sugar relationship to the fruit and the aromatics and so forth is there and there's nice complexity. What I really liked about the Zero Prosecco is that it kind of brings in a whole nother conversation. And it does make it a very drinkable, delicious beverage as well. But it just opens up that conversation as far as the relationship between sugar and wine.
Right. Cool. Great point. How about the value of sparkling wine with cuisine? So many Americans still think, if it's not my birthday, why would I order sparkling wine? But I think sparkling wine is generally, for most of us in the business, considered one of the most food friendly of all the wines. So where do we fall with that disconnect? Adam, where do you see the market? I mean, for your cuisine especially. Let me get you a microphone here. Thank you. Here, right here.
Thank you so much. Yeah, at Hakkasan, sparkling wine's an incredible pairing. Mm-hmm. Anything fried, crispy, salty, mixed with spicy, it just refreshes the palate and allows you to try another dish on the table. Incredibly good food wine. And I think there is a misconception there that sparkling wine is only for the start of the meal, when you really could drink sparkling wine throughout the whole dinner.
Well, and with a rosé sparkling, you can carry it even in some people's minds a little bit further, where they might not want to go. You know, with a white sparkling, they might go with a rosé. Yeah. Excellent. I'm thinking some kind of the ribs you guys do and things like that. You know, a rosé would be like pretty darn good.
Yeah. Plus, it would wash off the fat, high acid. Great.
Right. How about for your cuisine, JC? I mean, you've gone from a fabulous Peruvian restaurant with one spice profile to another textbook elegant profile, and now you're overseeing beverage for a whole group that has all kinds of profiles. So where do you see sparkling fitting in?
What I tell my staff is that sparkling is the cheat code. I mean, it works with everything. When in doubt, grab a bottle of bubbles. Everybody will be instantly happier. They'll think they're celebrating something. And at the end of the day, it works with food across the spectrum, as we've just discussed. I think rosé sparkling really plays nicely with duck. That's what I tend to pair it with. But anything even a little bit fattier, like lamb, as my friend said, the acid level and the bubbles really play a key role in like refreshing the palate and getting you ready for more.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sparkling is just going to keep growing. And I think that wine in general is going to find its way into cocktails. We've been hearing for a few years now that the low ABV movement is something that people are really looking for. And I think that wine plays a really important factor in taking the heat from the booze off of those drinks and putting them into classic renditions. We have more than just sparklers and spritzes. In our wine cocktails, we have rosé sours, we have rosé tequila watermelon sangria, served in a big punch. Like
Can I
there's
get
all
carry
kinds of-
out for that?
Yes.
It's like, I'm ready.
We'll make sure we load the watermelon up for you. But it's all a matter of creativity, right? And so
Yeah.
you can make an amazing Manhattan with the right sherry wine, you know, or a Vinsanto if we're looking for a certain profile. So
Right.
if it's something that we want to push, we just have to start playing with it a little bit more. And I think people will be happily surprised that they can now have 3 or 4 of these as opposed to like, oh, maybe I need to slow down after the second one, you know?
Right. Okay. So possibilities there. Anybody else want to jump in with a view? Dave, any thoughts? We'll get the mic down here to you. Here we go.
What I see is that sparkling wine definitely is in a rise, and people are realizing there's more than champagne, and especially also there's more than Prosecco. You know, but Prosecco has paved that path, I feel. And I agree with some of you saying people are looking more for drier, less sugar. And that's, you know, where I my comment earlier on the beginning of the tasting, people are much aware that alcohol, sugar is a big part. And I agree, Jen, people don't understand why, but is it our job to explain? It's a very thin line that we walk because it's also very much so in a time and a generation that's coming out now that doesn't come to the restaurant to be necessarily educated, right? There's shorter interactions, and we have to be very aware of the Googles and Vivinos and the whatnot that's being used, which makes it a very interesting dynamic, right, on the floor. And that goes for sparkling wine as well. But where Franciacorta is lacking, I think, is because, but it's not Prosecco, exactly. Well, we recently introduced nationwide because obviously fried food for Albert with champagne. Our dream is everybody gets a fried chicken with a bottle of champagne, but we're working on it. But we've also recently reintroduced Lambrusco, which I'm surprised that we didn't taste today.
Yes, yeah.
There's a big revolution happening in the world of Lambrusco. The quality is surprisingly good. And we are also working with, for certain demographics, Bracchetto. There's a revolution there as well, if we just stick it to Italian wine. So I think there's so much more to explore, and using that path that Prosecco paved for us. It's, you know, it's Italian, it's sparkling. That's the door opening, but it's not Prosecco. That's where we come in. That, okay, here's the conversation.
It's the hand selling.
Okay. Right. So no, that is Cava is making a big impression as well with, you know, the champagne market struggling really. So
yeah, I had dinner down at Filia a week or so ago, and I must have seen 7 bottles of Spanish sparkling rosé walk by on a Sunday night. So it's moving, and I think it's just waiting for the Italians to jump into that space.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, well, we've got some intriguing looking wines here. We've got a little bit of a lot of things, I think. Thank you very much. You can be very generous. It's okay. I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, so what we've got now are 5 more wines for us to try. And we're going to continue with the Prosecco theme with Familia Staiti, Prosecco DOC. Miguel Priore is here. Hello, Miguel. Let's get you a glass and a bottle.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Please.
Our bottle here. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, it's a pleasure to be here with all of you, all big leaguers in the industry. We are so proud to be here. This is our Prosecco. It's we are Go Wine own all his brands and produce all the wines that we sell here in US and in all the countries that we are present. In this case, you are tasting Familia Staiti. It's our Prosecco
It's a
Can you all
DOC.
hear okay? Can you speak up just if you speak just
Okay,
a touch louder?
okay, sorry.
Yeah.
It's a DOC Prosecco. The production is totally by Familia Staiti. His founder, Felipe Staiti, is a famous musician, lead the Argentinian band Enanitos Verdes. His sons works together to produce this Prosecco in Valdovidane, for sure. The production is curated by himself, and they are a Prosecco lovers and start many years ago to get this product to the customers. As you can see, the Prosecco have a beautiful yellow color, fine and delicate in bubbles. It's a pleasantly fruity with hints of golden apple and elegant acacia flower aroma that we are proud to. The alcohol is 11%, acidity 5.6 grams per liter. The sugar is 16 gallons per liter. It's that we like. People always, when are going to drink Prosecco, are happy. That's the reason that the fermentation process for this Prosecco is the reason that everyone is take away from the hangover because the fermentation is really clean. As we like that people say that the day before. I would like you to enjoy the Prosecco. We are here to do business with all of you. We really are willing to listen what you want to do with the product, what if you want to do by the glass, if you want to serve in your menus. We are here to listen your one-to-one.
Thank you.
I would like to share the story about this Prosecco because behind any bottle we have a story. Felipe is a famous musician in Argentina, Enanitos Verdes, born in Mendoza, but the grandfather born in Italy, moved to Argentina, and after Felipe moved the idea to Italy to start producing some wines, the son moved to Veneto and produced this Prosecco here with the family. Also, they have a Pinot Grillo and also a Malbec in Argentina with 97 point James Sacklins produced with Marcelo Pelleriti because we are
Marcello's the best.
Yes, Gold Wine is the same company. I born in Mendoza. We are producing in Argentina and Italy and Spain, and we sell in 20 countries. Also here in the United States, we have an import company and distributor company. We have more than 100 restaurants, hotels. Also, we produce the wine in Faena hotels. We can do for everything, have a big volume of expertise in the business. The idea with this, any product we produce have a story behind. It's not only a wine or a label, okay? And this Prosecco is checked by Marcelo, if you like, because we don't produce this Prosecco, but Marcelo takes the wine and say, okay, this is the quality for we produce. If not, we don't produce this kind of the wine.
Right.
Okay.
It's a beautiful aroma.
Thank you. Thank you. It's perfect by the glass. It's perfect for the restaurant. We don't sell in general enough premise because we take care for the brand, for the restaurant. If not, they have problem with the price.
Okay. Great. Thank you to you both for sharing this wine with us. Any questions before we move on? Okay, so the next presentation that we have is of Cipresso Pigreco Super Tuscan. This is going to be presented by Miguel as well. And I'm excited to see because we've definitely taken a step away from Prosecco here.
Yes, yes. The idea with this Super Tuscan wine, we have a joint venture with Roberto Cipresso, is the winemaker and owner of La Fiorita. And Roberto sell the La Fiorita project and start their own project in Tuscany. Because Marcelo and Roberto are friends in Argentina and produce wine together. Is the only wine we have. We are importing another producer. We have 2 or 3. This is one of the case. It's amazing Super Tuscan wine. Also, we have an incredible Brunello with 98 point James Sacklin. Also, Rosso di Montalcino and another Super Tuscan wine. Roberto is a flying winemaker, famous, and produces incredible wine. Advise more than, I don't know, maybe 50 wineries around the world.
The 12 months in oak. The tech sheet here doesn't say what the varieties are.
Yes, because I don't put, because depend year over year.
Okay.
You know, it's complicated. Behind the wine, the focus is obvious Toscana grapes, but I'll depend year, maybe put Cabernet, Merlot, every vintage change. We have 2012 and 2018, if you like to take.
Okay, so we have the older vintage to
Yes.
taste in the walk around and the 18 here.
Yes.
Some black pepper on the nose. I'm thinking you guys are like
this,
going, oh.
this wine last week. Something is very important. We have today a lot of logistic problem, you know, okay? But we are producer. We have a permanent stock here, and also we ship. We send wine by ship, flight, because we take care of customer.
Yeah.
Okay, they have the product, and this wine we received last week.
Boy, it didn't suffer from travel.
Yes.
It tastes good.
Okay.
So for this, where do you see the Super Tuscan market being? I mean, this is such a nebulous category.
It's so complicated here in the United States, so complicated because the people in general suppose you say Argentina and they say Malbec. And we have amazing wines, but the people say Malbec.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Tuscany. People say Chianti and Brunello di Montalcino, nothing more. But the idea is communicate, explain, share with the people, do testing, train the waitress. It's the only way you can introduce more wine. Okay.
So this is where your wish to work with the on-premise partner
For
comes
sure,
in to
for
help
sure,
them hand sell.
For sure. We this week arrived winemaker Marcelo,
Mhm.
and we have dinner Graciano, Station 28, La Rural. We have 3 or 4. It's the only way. You are speaking and explain about the wine and
Right.
share with the people. It's the only way because the people don't know a lot about the wine. You know? I think it's the only way we can do improve the business and share with the people the wine are doing because it's amazing wine and incredible relationship price quality. It's not a Brunello, but it's amazing.
Yeah. So here we have a winemaker who's willing to come to properties. Does it make a difference to you guys if a winemaker will come to a property, or is that more of a consumer kind of draw? Adam, is that a good thing? Let's get Priya, I'm sorry, can we trouble you for the mic? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I think it makes a tremendous difference. The more education, the more you can teach the staff. Recently, we had a distiller come into Hakkasan for a contest we were doing, and just faces lit up when you see like the passion of a winemaker or somebody producing a product. And yeah, I think it makes a tremendous difference.
Well, this is a personal aside. I'll say that I've had lunch. We met at a lunch
yes,
at Faina. Marcello comes in and he's a musician as well. So he brings the whole soundtrack for his presentation. It's kind of crazy. I loved it. It was great.
And the people love when the people met the winemaker and made the people work behind the bottle, they buy the story at the end. And they buy one bottle, another bottle. We start in 2008 producing wine with Marcelo. And now we are selling in 20 countries. James Sacklin named us one of the 100 best wineries around the world. It's the only way. Explain, communicate, share.
But I think what we're seeing today is the willingness of a number of people to partner with you in making a venture work. So great. Thank you again for this is lovely.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So there you have our Super Tuscan. Now we move to a really well-known name, Rufino. And this is the Grappone. This is a Riserva Ducale. No, I'm sorry, we're going to do the Grappone first. So this is Grappone Mazzi, Brunello De Montocino, DOCG, 2015, great year for Brunello. Hello, let me get a microphone for you. We've got, but we need it for our Zoom
Oh, you need it
people.
for the Zoom people. Okay.
Right.
I'll try not to yell at everyone.
Excuse me, let me just go by here and introduce you. You are?
I'm Katerina Corvino.
Okay.
I am the U.S. ambassador for Ruffino, and I'm really excited.
Could you just hold the mic up just a touch? There we go, thank you.
Excited and honored to stand in the presence of all of you today and to present these wines. I've worked for this company for a very long time, so I understand the perception of a wine that has a long history and that has different tiers. I think the biggest thing when you are choosing a wine, you're choosing for the establishment and what sits right with your wine list. You're choosing for your guests and what you perceive them to enjoy. I think that we've all gone through a lot of changes of late. We look at what on-premise looked like and what hospitality looked like, and it changed. You know, people are looking for experiences. We talked about younger consumers earlier. And I think when you look at a brand that has a long 140-year history, you have to look at the quality behind what makes that possible. So I'm going to ask you to unlearn everything that you thought that Ruffino was, because we're putting a Brunello De Montocino in front of you. Grapponi Mazzi is a single estate. It's grown on very rugged terroir. It has winemaking. The gentleman, Gabriele Taccone, has been with Ruffino since the 80s. And so he knows the vineyards, he knows the winery, and he knows that he has to stay relevant. And to do that, really creating an expression of what Sangiovese Grosso is supposed to be. You know, so bright acidity and a beautiful balance. And I think that this delivers all of that. This is our 2015 vintage, just being received in markets now. So it's bright and fresh. And some of the things that we talked about, and I don't want to overspeak because I know we're going to go through a few wines, but some of the things that I heard other people say that I think are really important. All of the vineyards for Ruffino will be completely sustainable and organic by 2025. Some of them are already organic and all of them are sustainable, but we are transitioning vineyards and vintages because obviously aged wines, this has been a couple of years aging already. And as we progress forward, we'll have a little more of that. We talk about staying relevant with consumers. We talked about that younger consumer. And so in social media, having the opportunity to share a new vision. We are adopting Vivere di Gusto, you know, really embracing Italian life, what that means, what it means to the people that grow these wines, that drink these wines, that enjoy these wines. Hospitality is very big for us. At our Poggio Casciano estate, we have a beautiful place to stay and a gorgeous restaurant, and we create experiences. And I welcome all of you to be my guests. And in the same, bringing that experience here. Having a brand ambassador in the United States means that I travel to key markets, Miami being one, and offer experiences to your guests. Because if we are not, as you said earlier, partners, there's a lot of choices for you out there. There's a lot of opportunities for you to support brands and to make that special. That's our commitment on this site. So I didn't go over a lot of the tasting notes because I know you have them in front of you. But is there any questions on this one before I talk a little bit more about other wines or?
I have a question for you. I'm curious about the Brunello space, if you will. I mean, 30 years ago, there were maybe 3 Brunellos available. Yeah. And today there are a lot of Brunellos. So how do you stand out? How do you tell your story?
I think a lot of it is about terroir. Our next door neighbor is Biandisanti. So, you know, reputation, obviously very important.
You can go over, borrow a cup of must if you need to.
I don't think we have to. I think that it's a 140-year-old winery with 8 beautiful estates in Tuscany. I think the thing that we are focusing on right now, I only take care of the estate wines. So there are other things out there. There's Prosecco, there's Pinot Grigio, there's other things. But these wine estates we handle individually. So if you were to choose to put this on a list and you chose to put Brunello De Montocino, you could do that. And you're appealing to someone that's looking just for, they're not looking for that name recognition. Or you may feel like your consumer base wants a comfort level. They want to choose something that they know. And I think the Ruffino name has quality behind it.
Great.
Did that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've been curious. We all get kind of inundated now, which is a very happy occasion to be inundated with Brunello, but telling one from another and how you tell the story to the consumer, I think is really important.
Yeah, I think that it's about, you know, the botte and the aging and the winemaking and all
And the longevity of the whole project is important.
Exactly.
It's not
this is a traditional wine and a long history behind it.
Fantastic. Any questions that we want to post before, because Katerina has another wine to bring us as well.
I actually have two more to show you.
Okay, well, let's get showing. We're ready for number 4 now.
Which is
your Ruffino,
Reserva
the Grappone.
d'Oro.
So here we go up to Reserva Ducale.
Okay, so this is the Gran Selezione. So as the Consorzio made changes to what is Chianti Classico and how we look at it, from it being single estate source to, you know, 3 years of aging and all of the special handling. It has to have a certain amount of Sangiovese, but once we've exceeded that 80%, you know, offering in the Merlot, which is luscious and velvety and has that like tucky mouth feel. Colorino is an indigenous varietal usually used in very small percentages just to add color to the wine. 5% of Colorino really adds like a different mouthfeel and a silkiness and an elegance to the wine. And I think it's very unique. When people see this label, I think they make a choice about it, right? We've seen this label for a long time. 1947 was the beginning. And it's evolved just the way that we all have to evolve. And I think that the nicest thing is with the elevation of the Gran Selezione, this is a very different wine on your palate than you may have had in vintages past. And again, if it's the traditional element, sometimes this wine fits for everybody. And sometimes we need to reintroduce it.
Right. Since 2011, 2013, when the Gran Selezione really kind of came in, there's been some controversy in Tuscany. There are producers who refuse to make a Gran Selezione, saying it's not necessary. What is Ruffino's story to tell our audience about, here's why we took that extra step?
Yeah, I think that it wasn't about the quality didn't exist before. It's that if we're going to make a stand as a community in the Consorzio for Chianti Classico, I think that we have to be forward thinking. We can never like put a stake in the sand and say, this is who we are, because then you're stuck in the past. It's that evolution of constantly raising the quality. We've learned so much more about winemaking, and it had the, you know, from equipment to just all the different pieces that allow us to create something special. And I think that it's not just the labeling of Gran Selezione and falling into the category of meeting those criteria. It's deciding that this is the forward vision for this wine, and we want to elevate to the highest level.
Right. Well, it's a beautiful wine. I have to say, in my WSET classes, I've used this as an example of Sangiovese.
Well, thank you.
And I think it's a beautiful wine. So
I think it's a nice expression of the indigenous varietals, and it also has the beauty of, you know, a little bit of blending. Very much. So as we go forward, we're going to taste a lauda. A lauda in English is like skylark, a little bird that is in the vineyard. And a lauda is a very different Super Tuscan wine. I don't love the Super Tuscan term because I feel like it's really built by the press. And I think that it was also a transition and a growing for Tuscany. It took creating something different, and to be able to create that opinion again about that Tuscan wines can create something exceptional. And before we elevated Gran Selezione, taking the indigenous varietals. So when you look at the varietals in this, Cabernet Franc it can be very green, it can be very like bell pepper, and it can be not so delicious. But this, because of where it grows on those hillsides, getting like full sun, really like ripens beautifully. It has a little Merlot, again, like very approachable and velvety and luscious. And going again to that Culinary, right? Indigenous varietal, 10% is a lot of Culinary. And it really gives it that like special long finish and difference that you wouldn't have from something like a Cabernet with more structure and tannin. So I feel that, this is very unique. We have other Super Tuscans in the portfolio that have Sangiovese and Bordeaux varietals. This one has really interesting varietals, and I think creates something exceptional. There's only 250 cases of this made for the entire world each year, and it's only done in specific vintages. This is our third vintage of a Lauda, and it began in 2011. So this is our most elevated expression, and hopefully you enjoyed the quality in the bottle.
Is this allocated so that not
Everybody can get it if you make such small quantities?
So we just, we would only bring in a small amount, and it would run out of stock and make people very unhappy, right? When you're in an on-premise choice, you make a choice.
Because you don't want to tell these folks no.
Right. You want to put it on your wine list, and you want to say, this may or may not be available. So I've just begun in this role, been with the company a really long time, begun in this role. And so the first thing I did was allocate these wines. So they'll only be in key markets, Miami, San Francisco, and New York. So when you think about what the amount that we have and the price point, I think we could comfortably say that we have enough quality product for you to put it on your list and feel confident that we'll be able
for
to
us
sustain.
favored few.
Yes.
Beautiful. Any thoughts on Super Tuscans and their place in your portfolio? Anybody want to chime in? Okay. Katerina, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
It's
Thank
a
you all
wonderful
very much for
trio
your
of
attention.
wines.
It's a pleasure to meet you all.
You made us turn red here. This is great. Okay, so next up then, our final wine, we welcome John back to the stage. John Fiora is going to talk about this unusual looking, it's not a cocktail in a can. It's something different, something special.
You're absolutely correct. Yeah, we created this product. We had it made in the Veneto region, Treviso area. And we, as everybody knows, if you go to Italy, you cannot go to a hotel or go to a party or an event or somebody's house, and they're not going to offer you a spritz. Everybody knows that spritz is basically, you could say, the Coca-Cola of Italy when it comes to getting together for family event or any type of outing of any kind. So in this country, we have not yet, the popularity of spritz is just beginning to get recognized. It has not hit the levels that it is, of course, in Italy. And we felt that if we made one that was already prepared for you, then I believe that with the recognition of consumers seeing it available, because a lot of the times people not knowing how to make it, you can make spritz with Aperol. Most people know it as Aperol. Some people, of course, know it as with Campari, and some people will make it with some other types of herbs. But the original spritz was created actually back in the 1800s, late 1800s, 1900s, by the Austrians when they invaded the Venetian area, the Veneto area. And when they began drinking some of the Venetian products, they found them to be very bitter for them or very harsh. And so they lightened them up. And that's where the spritz, spritzen in German means sprinkle. They sprinkled some sparkling, actually they added water, but they added sparkling water to make the drink. And of course, today, the spritz is made, a lot of it is made with Prosecco. Most of the people that know spritz make it with Prosecco.
But you've taken the work out of that.
I think we've done that, absolutely. And I think It's really a fantastic drink. For those of you that haven't tried it, you put a slice of orange on this, and I think you're going to find it to be very, very surprising.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I really got behind this product, we started bringing this in 2 years ago. I was out in a restaurant, and there was an Italian family. They had ordered spritz. It wasn't my family. It was another family that went to the restaurant. They ordered spritz, and I watched the bartender making spritz. And first of all, the bartender was a young lady. She did not really know what it was. So I kind of interceded, but she started to making spritz. For an Italian, we're used to making spritz, as I said, with either Aperol, Campari, and Prosecco. But she took out a bottle of champagne, and she didn't really know where the color came from. So she was looking for the Aperol. She was confused. And that gave me an idea to say, you know what, there's a lot of people that just are not familiar with the spritz. And again, we kind of came out and made one available so it's consistent. So for those of you that serve brunches, that use it for that on Sundays or whenever your brunches are, and you want to offer spritz in conjunction with your brunches, cocktails that you offer, bottomless, as most of you call them, unlimited. This is priced right. It's all ready. We made it with a screw top, so it's easy for the waitress and the waiters to prepare it and sell it and prepare it. And I think it's going to give you a great new alternative, ready-to-drink cocktail that is going to be really appreciated.
Would you do this on ice or just straight up?
Absolutely. You can do it on ice. It's absolutely enjoyed. This belongs with some ice and a slice of orange, and you got a refreshing, really cool, refreshing drink. 8%. 8% alcohol content. So you have, it's not heavily, but it's really, really done. It's got a tremendous, nice flavor profile. I hope you guys try it, and I'm sorry that they didn't offer the orange slices. But if you like to taste it with the orange, after our tasting, we have more available at the table or vino table, and we can offer to you with the ice and the slice of orange, just for your own pleasure of enjoying it in the way it's normally served.
So since you have your brand ambassador with you, and who obviously is of another generation than you and me,
absolutely,
I'm intrigued by your view of the market for spritzes and a wine-based cocktail like this.
Well, I was really behind this just because my friends and I always go to brunch and we always get bottomless. And a couple of places where I live, which is out in Boca Raton, they do offer Aperol Spritz bottomless brunch. And like my father was saying, it's always inconsistent. Every time we would get a Spritz, it would be different. So I was actually, a main part of bringing this in because I thought it would be really good with the younger generation, and everyone that's out there drinking brunch cocktails and stuff like that.
Who knows?
So
people may
far,
be asking for
it.
Amari next, It's like,
you never know.
Right. Well, thank you both very much for presenting this. It's a treat to wrap up with this.
Thank you.
All righty. So this concludes our presentation of the wines, and now we're ready to move on to the final chapter before we have a chance to move on to even more wine. So thank you to all the winemakers and the importers and brand reps who provided these for us. So in a few minutes, we're going to open the floor for a walk around tasting with some additional guests from local restaurants who've been joining us as the day has progressed. But before that, we've got a brief ceremony here to give the 2021 renewal certificate of Marchio Ospitalità Italiana. This is a certificate that we're presenting to 8 authentic Italian restaurants in Miami that have been awarded with this prestigious recognition a few years ago. So I know that for many of the restaurants, you've got more than one person here. So just by all means, everybody come up. The quality seal, Marchio Ospitalità Italian, is an international certification that recognizes selected restaurants around the world as ambassadors of authentic Italian cuisine and food products. So over the years, almost 2,000 restaurants have been recognized. I don't think I've visited more than 1,000 of them, but I'm working on it. So the quality seal will be presented now. We're glad to recognize the efforts of these committed restaurants. And Nevio Boccanera here from the Italy America Chamber of Commerce Southeast. He's our executive director. And Eva Alvino, the vice consul of Italy. Benvenuto. Will give the certificate of renewal. So I invite you to come up to the stage when I call your name, and Vice Consul Alvino will say a few words. Let me get a microphone over here for you. Here we go, right here. So if you would join us for your well-deserved certificate. Filippo, please step forward from Casa Tua. Carmine Condito, our master. You want to do the one by one? Yeah. Or you want to say something first before?
Something first and then,
of course.
Just a few words. And of course, I would like to thank the Italy American Chamber of Commerce Southeast for organizing this event. And of course, this is the moment of connection and network between wine enthusiasts and experts and of course, importers. And to us, the framework of this event, which is Extraordinary Italian Taste, is an important moment of sharing our culture, but also recognizing the authenticity of our agri-food products, among all of them also wines, and to raise awareness about certifications and productions, and of course, all of the exclusivity of our products abroad. And in particular, agri-food products is a relevant market share of our exports to the USA and in particular to Florida. So we are very happy to have had this possibility, and I hope you enjoyed the event, and I hand over to Nevio.
Thank you. Okay. Now, you want the people to come up individually? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry.
So we have a photo to be taken back here. All right. This is your official Italian mugshot. Thank you very much. Fantastic. Auguri, Filippo. So, Carmine Condito, who's the master pizzaiola. Come on, chef. It's good to see you again. He's coming with Lorenzo Giuliano, who's the manager of Omunicello in where's that? Mimo, I guess is what we call that area. How are you? Benvenuto. Hi. Benvenuto, chef. Please step over here. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Auguri. Okay, so then let's invite up, thank you, Angelo Massarin, there's the chef partner, and Graziano Sprogio, the founder of Graspa Group Salumeria 104. We've done a couple of great webinars with you, chef. Okay, next up we have Tommaso Morilato, who's the founder and CEO of Toscana di Vino, and his fan club. We have a couple of others who are not here to receive their certificates, so we will keep them safely packed away for the time being. And then we'd like to take this opportunity to also recognize as ambassadors of authentic Italian products in Miami, 3 gourmet market stores that are specialized in selling genuine Italian products. This is the first time that we have such a recognition, and it's wonderful to have it because there's so many fabulous Italian products we're actually able to get now. This is a new project of the Association of Italian Chambers in the World. The idea is to certify gourmet stores in more than 50 countries as having the authentic products instead of local imitations. Yes, we don't want any of that Wisconsin prosciutto. So I'm very glad to welcome up here today Vincenzo Giuliotta, who's the owner, and Erica Santopietro, the owner of Origini Italian Market. Good. I'll go already. So also now we have Francesco Lupo, who's from Prima Classe Italian Market. Francesco. Thank you, Francesco. And finally, Monica Corvino, the owner of Mercato Miami. Monica, welcome. Thank you very much. Congratulations to everyone. And now I invite everyone to enjoy right here in this space, the networking cocktail walk around. We've got plenty of wine here. There's a tasting of more than 30 wines available in the Florida market presented by our partners who've been here today with us, including Rufino, Orvino, Valdo, 7 Imports and Exports, Go Wine, and EDM Zero Beverages. The next initiative, by the way, of the Italian, or rather the Italy America Chamber of Commerce, organized in the frame of the Extraordinary Italian Taste campaign, will take place at Doma Restaurant on October 6th, and we'll have the pleasure to recognize our panelists. We get to eat, guys. It's going to be good. We're going to have a great time. Wine's on Nevio, so this is good. Thank you again to everybody for your participation today. I know in our business of hospitality, taking a few hours off is not an easy thing. So thank you so much for contributing so much to us.